You're not going to believe the evidence that Teddy found in her last expedition to the Dyatlov Pass. There were 3 new pieces of evidence that were uncovered that presents a new theory that no one has proposed. I'm just completely floored that no one has looked into this. Be sure to stick around for the entire episode.
Since the tent was found on the windy slope, something happened to scare them away from the tent, but in a way that they cut their way out with knives. And for some reason, they slowly went down because we have preserved the footprints of all of them going down abreast, not one after another, which is weird. And then they went down in the forest. Something happened there. They died from a very strange. Okay, so not all of them. So we have 2 under a tree, which were obviously repositioned because they didn't die in these positions. They were just dragged under the cedar tree. And then we have 3 that tried to crawl back to the tent. Okay, they tried to go back to the tent. You're asking about these 3 that were found in one line. The girl made it halfway to the tent, and then Dyatlov and another Slobodin, they were found in, like, it looked like they were going back to the tent to fetch items or something. This is how they were found. And the 3rd group of, they call it the second because the first 5 were found almost the first 4 in one day and the 5th after 5 days. But then there is a second group that was found 2 months later when the snow started melting down. This is what I was trying to get at, that even then they couldn't find 4 people, and we have the unprecedented massive search of all of the military, everyone that you could possibly fetch there, even people that shouldn't be there were there. We have a lot of man hours, helicopters, and participants in the search operation in 3 months span, and they couldn't find bodies. I mean, and we call this a simple terrain. A very simple terrain, and they knew where to search. They were searching in an area of 50 meters around a tree, and they couldn't find it. So if you go in winter, what could you find to tell you something about this mystery? Why so hard to solve this case? Because whatever happened didn't happen at once. And all of the theories that we're discussing and everything that you will hear, like, oh, avalanche, Yeti, UFO, KGB, you name it, infrasound, there are many theories. This phrase, the title of the theory, means what scared them away from the tent. This is what it means. Oh, bear. Okay, bear crawled the tent and scared them away, and they fled to their death. Okay, but they flee for 2 hours, and then something killed them there. First, they didn't flee. They walked calmly, orderly, without dragging. No one was hurt, nothing. So something made them cut open their tent, rendering it unusable, left their shoes, left their clothes, their gloves, every protective gear that you could imagine, shoes. They slowly go down for 2 hours. Then suddenly they start. So let's say if they were so scared, if they were somehow rendered confused, poisoned, something happened to their faculties, they couldn't see, they were blind, all kinds of theories, like they ingested something by accident, or someone poisoned them, anything that you can imagine, or someone forced them to go down, or infrasound, they went down because they were so couldn't bear it to stay on the slope where everything was affecting their mind and stuff. So, but okay, you go down, you obviously come to your senses because you make a fire, you dig a bivouac, you start chopping wood, you start exchanging clothes. Speculation is that if someone dies, they took the clothes from them. So why did they die? By the way, simultaneously with this trek was another one in conditions that were harder than the Dyatlov group route. And on the second day, their tent burned down because of accident. I mean, they burned their tents down. They still made the whole trek. They set records. They climbed winter peaks 1, 2, 3, and they came back. So what I'm saying is that those people were experienced. They knew how to handle, even if they don't have a tent, they built snow caves and they managed to finish the trek, not even go back. They managed to ascend and make their plan, not full plan, but some of the records that they set for winter ascents. And so it wasn't a tragedy if you lose your tent. This is what I'm saying. I mean, if they decided to abandon their tent and they managed to go down and lit a fire, they could survive. This is not what killed them. So any of these theories that they sprout like mushrooms, I mean, anything that you can possibly imagine, it's what can confuse and make you totally jump out of your comfort zone of reality in the mountain. And everything that comes to mind is applied to Dyatlov case, because obviously they went out of the tent and they did something very weird. And then this is where I draw the line. How did they die? Most of the, let's not say all of the theories, they don't explain how did they die. They only address why did they left their tent in such a manner, like abandoning their shoes and clothes and everything, and they went down, cutting the tent and everything, they went down. And then why did they die? Because when you go to the forest, it's all the wind calms down. There is running water. There is wood. They had matches. You could actually survive. Okay, if you're naked, it's a little bit more difficult, but still, first of all, they were not naked. Some of the bodies were stripped naked because someone took their underpants and something. They were underdressed, but this is how you usually spend the night in a tent. This is what they were wearing. They left the tent like zombies without even thinking of taking any of their jackets or shoes or something like that. So this is weird. So people talk about, even the Russians, one of the theories is that they were lights these lights were moving only when you look at them. So these lights are, but they jump to, this is why they die. Okay, wait a minute. Lights made them afraid, scared them away. They went down. And then why they die in such a different way? Why 3 of them look like they have hit by a car and the rest died from hypothermia? Why in such a different manner? So it's really weird, because you cannot see, if you are going to die from exposure to the elements because you left your tent, then you have to really continue to maintain your decision for 2 hours until you get down in the forest. You have all of the conditions to survive there, but you decide to go back up for we don't know what. And the reason why you can come up with the intelligent scenario of events is because you die down there where you went for shelter. Why did they die there? So it looks like 2 disasters, very different, struck these people, which were so unfortunate. Like, imagine something very weird to happen to you up in the tent, and something different to happen you down in your shelter when you decide, no, this is even worse, so I'm going back to the tent. It just doesn't make sense. If this was closer, if like they died up on where the tent was found or close by around the ridge, something like that, then the disaster struck there. But if the tent was down in the forest, then the whole accident and tragedy happened down. But because they're so far away, a mile away, nothing makes sense. So everyone who comes up with a theory has to stretch this, the strange event that make them leave the tent, to stretch it down, and somewhere down the way, they just lose the logic. They lose interest in make it like a cohesive theory with the whole scenario, because you have to get them out of the tent, kill them, some of them in the ravine, and some of them try to go up and obviously die from freezing, because you can't go without shoes a mile up under this exposure. I mean, that will kill you. That's obvious. So what is that thing that chased them for a whole night, and everyone died in such a different manner? And when they found the last three, which you cannot explain, the ones that are with crushed chest and the caved-in skull, the investigator Lev Ivanov, he even lost interest in finding a solution to this case. He didn't make any photos. He didn't make any protocols of the bodies, nothing, like as if he made up his mind.
That's what's interesting, is why is the focus on what they think was the first event and not what actually killed them? And then why wasn't he interested in finding out what actually killed them? That's where it gets interesting.
Okay, so after 10 years of deliberation, to me, the only thing that makes sense is that he was just clueless. I can come up with two scenarios. First, he was ordered from above to close the case. So there is a whole branch of theories, because they called him in Moscow. There is no evidence of that, but this is what the theories say. So it was, we're going into the man-made disaster, the technogenic disaster. So rocket, the special the weapon testing, something went wrong. And in order for the investigator not to dig any further, they said, just close the case. So that's it. That's one scenario. The second scenario, to me, which to me makes more sense, is that he was just clueless what else to investigate. And also the fact that he lost interest, I think he was moved in this 2-month span between finding the first group of bodies and the last bodies. He wasn't actively involved in the case. I think he was moved on a different case. And everything that we read about lights in the sky and radioactive clothes and everything, it was very current affairs back then, because it was the Cold War, and because everyone was looking for spies and doing espionage. It was, I believe he was assigned to something that was very happening in the area, and those were the strange lights in the sky. That's why a lot of people, and in the case files, we have reports of strange lights in the sky, and those are people that live there, so they're used to all kind of light phenomenon, like the polar lights or something like that. But those were things that they haven't seen before, and there were reports in the newspapers and clips from newspapers in the case files made, and there are a lot of people that even the searchers asked officially, what is going on, because we're afraid for our life and health. What is this? And even one of them who was he wasn't on duty, but he went out of the tent and he saw these lights, and he called for his friends, come see what's in the sky. And they went out, and when they looked down after seeing the lights, they saw that they went out of the tent exactly like the Dyatlov group was found, in their socks, in their underwear. I mean, how you sleep in the tent, and they were looking in the sky. And this is how the theories about Zolotaryov's camera, based on Zolotaryov's damaged film, are developed. That they went, and I personally, this is what I was repeating when I went with Josh Gates on the pass. I said, well, someone said there's something in the sky. They went out. Zolotaryov took his camera. They were taking pictures for something in the sky. And then my theory just ended. I didn't have anything else. They went out, and that's why they were in their underwear. And then I said, someone must have ordered them to march down. But even that doesn't make any sense, because, okay, you march down, and then this someone has to come down and kill you. Why didn't he kill you when on the slope, on your first encounter? Why did he has to lose control of where you go and what you do, since you obviously are experienced enough to survive if you go down? So what if there are people, if it's a criminal case, let's say if we're following the criminal scenario, that means that someone wanted to kill them for reasons, let's say they saw something and they had to be cleaned by the party, government, whatever, but that takes time. I mean, if it's an accident, they first has to be reported, and then who knows that they saw it? That doesn't make any sense. Then there is a theory that there were bosses that were poaching with helicopters and floodlights, and they saw them, and they sent someone to clean them. That doesn't make sense either to me. I mean, but again, think of the stretch mark. You have to chase them away from the tent, knowing that they can survive down, and then come back and kill them in 5 hours.
Yeah, and you wouldn't kill 3 of them in one way and let the other ones just die of hypothermia. You would most likely be using a gun, I would think, in a criminal situation.
Of course, but let's say if you don't want to be directly linked to a murder, you may want to make it look like an accident. Still doesn't make any sense. Why some of them, and it's not like, oh, the girls, oh, the man. It's like, okay, I killed the man because he's the strongest and he has to go first. But no, they're so diverse, the ones that died in such a horrible way. One is the oldest and most experienced. He was with the worst injuries. Then it was the weakest link. Ludmila, she was injured during hunting accident the previous year, so she had to carry a lighter backpack and everything. She was wounded in the leg a year before. That's why her parents didn't want her to go on this trek. So she was the one that was walking slowly. She's the weakest link, okay? She was in a bad mood, which is usually because you're not in a terrific shape. At least I am in bad mood during treks if I can feel to my full performance. So she was in a bad mood, and she was the one that we all drag her, no tongue, no eyes. She was crushed the worst. And then is one of the students, Tivo, were the worst injured. Well, I was repeating when I was clueless to make sense of them, of all of the facts. I was repeating that it looked like, and it really does, if you, it is like the longer you live, the worse death you die. And how did we know? I'm talking not what I know now, what I fear now, but what it looks like when you read the case files. It looks like by the clothes, and remember that they have their clothes are exchanged in some way, not fully exchanged, just in some of the clothes.
Parts of them, but pieces of them.
One of them is wearing the overall of another one. How does that happen? The overall, like not just the pants, the whole full thing. How do you put that on someone? How do you strip down a body of it? But that other body still has its pants. So the common perception is that by the exchange of clothing, we can tell the horrible timeline of death. So whoever has the clothes of the other people lived longer, because at least we presume that they waited for someone to die before taking his clothes. But we're talking about, they died in a span of 2 hours from each other. how do you come up with this? They die and you strip them right away. Like you wait until your last breath to strip them. Is that what you do when your, friends start dying? Don't you try to at least cover them? If they're freezing, then you will try to put more clothes on them or hug them or do something, to help them survive. You don't strip them from their clothes and then you go away. Why are they not in one cluster? Why are they not together? Why did they split? So then after I figured this out, it's a completely different context in which I think about every fact in this case. So if we have the tent and we have the where the bodies were found in the creek or the cedar or the ravine, because everything is very close, why do we think this is how it happened chronologically? Because this is how it was found. Okay, they found first the tent and then they found the bodies, and then they believed that they were going back. What if we just turn upside down the hourglass? What if they die down and then they were trying, some of them, after they were trapped in whatever killed them, the ones that were going up the slope were going for help? Doesn't that make more sense, to get away from the bodies?
Yeah, it makes more sense to me.
Because if they're starting to die, you don't go to the tent to take shoes. This is too late, too little, too late. You don't go to the tent because there is nothing in the tent to help the dying. Even the fact that you're going to be gone for 4 hours to go up and go down, you can't even find them in the dark. This is absurd. To die down, first to decide to go down, when I saw the terrain, there is absolutely no way. If I'm scared or I have to flee for something, I will go so far away to cover, because there are rocks right there 500 meters away on even terrain, not up down. And I have seen those rocks because I passed them the day before. The only reason I will happen to be down in the ravine is I have been following the planned route and what they were supposed to do, and I just pitched the tent there because this is where the tent was supposed to be that night. And this is not news for most of the Russians. They all say that this is the only explanation why there is so much work done down in the ravine. I mean, in the around the cedar tree, because there's so many. The wood is chopped, everything, items are found, everything is spread there, clothes and branches and tools and everything. And something is very strange, because branches are cut and a knife is not found. But there is a sheet, a bakelite sheet of a knife, according to the protocol, which Lev Ivanov, our star here in this investigation, called in the resolution to close the case, it called it a knife. How can you mistake a sheet, a case, for a knife with a knife? They didn't find any cutting tool that could have been used to cut the branches. And also, intentionally or not, he confused in the case files who had whose clothes. And this is really bad, because we know how the clothes were exchanged by the receipts of when they were returned to the families. And even Lev Ivanov, he had a small receipts of, he was making notes during the autopsy, or I don't know when, but this is the second volume of the case files, which are translated. So there's no excuse for people not to know that. There is no language barrier or no access to these files. They're on my side. So he made small notes which contradicted his own official case files and the resolution. Like he calls, this is the head of Luda, it was found on this body, but then in the resolution, he's saying a completely different thing. It was like, okay, I'm closing this case. So scratching his head, what was it that I found out 2 months ago? Okay, let's put everything down and say that they were at fault because they did something stupid, but we're not fully aware what. But anyways, we are closing that. And 30 years after he closed the case with this brilliant conclusion that they encounter overwhelming force, it's not even the elemental force, because elemental force, it means something from nature. He said overwhelming, something big happened, they couldn't survive it. So that was the resolution. And 30 years after that, he was talking about extraterrestrial sources that he actually sent a telegram begging to take him seriously, because he's a very
He's a believer in UFOs and
yes, because he's a very sincere, he's very rooted into the rational, and he knows what he's talking about. But we should look into extraterrestrial sources of energy, because this is how they were like killed, and there's something very strange going on. And he apologized to the families, especially the ones that were the worst that suffered the worst death. And everyone says that he knew something. He was ordered, that this apology was actually dictated from something that he knew. His daughter said that he just wanted, he published that, he really believed it, but he published this article just to bring attention back to a cold case that he didn't solve. And this is what I think happened. It's not that it was a pressure, not that some state secret happened, but that he was clueless at the time, and they said, okay, we're not going to chase UFOs and admit to America and all of the world that we have no idea what happens now in our skies or mountains, or that our people are dying from sources we don't even know what the origin is. It's even better for the people to believe that it's a state secret, because that means that they died for a greater good. And it was very normal. Even when I was in IFDO, I didn't have a laptop, so I went to the library to use their computer to check my mail. And they asked me what I'm doing there in their village. I said that I'm with the Dyatlov Pass expedition, and they told me what they believe. They all believe, the ones that live in the area, that it was connected to the lights in the sky, and that there were secret weapons, missiles, whatever, and that it was classified, and it was that's why.
Yeah, they just say that's it.
For the greater good. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's one big thing in Russia, and the other one is the avalanche, which now spread with the Swiss scientific paper, which to me, that only shows how information is going to spread around the world. Because if American periodical, this was started by New York Times, I believe, or New Yorker, I don't believe which one, made the Halloween article, which became so successful that they funded the scientific research into an avalanche, because they appointed an avalanche expert to dig into the Dyatlov Pass. This is the same with Kuryakov, who reopened the case. Well, he didn't reopen, he revisited the case files, and then he publicly announced that he's going to the pass, but he's going to investigate only avalanche. So how is that fair? I mean, only by reading the case files for 2 years, he decided that there is no criminal, no basis for any criminal lead. So it's not a criminal case. So he's going to the pass just to investigate avalanche. So I have to be fair, that you cannot just go clueless to the pass and see what happened. It's like, okay, I'm going to the pass and I'm going to solve it. It's going to hit me in the face. I'm going to figure it out. Usually the expedition is so hard to organize, and it's so expensive, because the first expedition I was taking to the pass, but the second one, it's all on my dime. I had to get the visa, I have to buy the ticket, then I have to stay in Russia when you cannot even pay with a credit card, because it happened in 2022. So imagine everything that I had to go through to go to that expedition. And it's just out of my mind, the luck I had, because theoretically, I knew what I'm looking for. And I found it big as life. I mean, I should say big as death. I was going, because theoretically we concluded with Igor, who is not a traveler mountaineer at all, but he's a nuclear physicist, and he, by deduction for decades, he decided that the only thing that could cause these traumas to the bodies is a tree. And what I mean, they were camping in the forest. So if it's not a beast animal, and there are no gun wounds, and we have such a strange traumas just on some of the bodies, the one thing that makes sense is a tree. And I came to that conclusion independently, without knowing what Igor, the theory is. So one day I said, you know, Igor, there is the only thing that could happen is to fall from very high, or there must be a tree, but they were not found under a tree. So actually Igor helped me figure out the second part, because that's still not solution to the case. And I know that my theory is going to be called the tree theory, but that doesn't solve anything, because it's, yes, it's explaining the traumas and why some died horribly and the rest were crawling for help on the slope, but then who moved the tent? But honestly, isn't it easier to explain why someone would move a tent than why someone would move bodies? Because the bodies were obviously moved. I mean, everyone agrees that they didn't die in this, they didn't die like that. At least the first two bodies, the way they were found. They were dragged, they were repositioned, they were stripped. They didn't die like that. So if someone handled the bodies, why couldn't he handle, why someone shouldn't handle the tent as well, if everything points that the tent shouldn't be there in the first place? Because the reason that Lev Ivanov called it a mistake of the leader of the group is because he pitched the tent there. But no one from his colleagues, friends, contemporaries, no one believes that this is what Dyatlov did. No one would pitch the tent there. Even if you pitch it there because you're accosted by a storm or something happened, you stay in the tent. No one cuts open the tent. You pitch the tent there because you're in some harm's way and you have to stay in the tent. This is why you choose that strange and dangerous place on first place. And the only shelter you have to stay in to be protected by the tent. Now, okay, so something can make you flee the tent. And this is what a book published 3 months before the tragedy just came out of Geologists, who was, there was a storm and he and his group had to pitch the tent exactly on a slope like that. So after they pitched the tent, the snow started pushing and they cut open their tent and they flee down without finding all their shoes and hats and what so, and they survived. So yes, there is such scenario where you can pitch, but it's very strangely similar to our case. That's why we believe that whoever is involved staging the tent had actually read the book, because it's very, very similar to the book. And there were not that many books back there. So something to be published by geologists, and they were all geologists that were working there. And we also know that the Dyatlov group brought a book to the logging settlement of 41, District 41, and they gave it to the manager there. And my speculation is that it could be this book. It's not, but the loggers were not involved. They were far away. What I'm saying is that there was a new book that came out that had exactly the same scenario. So the problem is that if you happen to do that, if this happens to you, you go and you freeze from hypothermia. If you have to die, you freeze from hypothermia. There is no chance. I mean, what chances of this freak storm to happen to you? You to cut the tent, go down, and then a tree to fall on top of you. But even if that's the case, well, there was no tree, they were not found under the tree. So it has to be a storm, a tree, and then someone else to move you from under the tree, because there is nothing around the bodies that it can explain the traumas. Okay, so listeners will read a lot of scenarios where the traumas are caused by something on the slope up there. And those are the ambassadors of one of the most popular theories, Buyanov, the avalanche, the Swiss, the Kurikov. No, Kurikov has 2 avalanches to kill them, one up and one down. So they say that Возрожденный, who is the coroner at the time, was wrong. I mean, those traumas couldn't be that severe, that, okay, they were all crushed, but then they came to their senses, dusted the snow, walked for a mile down, and they died there. But the exhumation shows that Возрожденный was right. And all of the traumas are so obvious and severe, you cannot survive them. There are not that many expert documents in the case files that we cannot so easily discard them. Like, one is for the tent, who was sent to a laboratory to be examined, but there were very limited questions that were asked. Is the tent cut? And if it's cut, is it cut from outside or inside? Nothing else, because the tent was a map of the tears, and it was sold so many times. Even during that trek in the diary, they were constantly saying that every night they had to stitch more and more holes. And also we talked about the stove, which was suspended on a rope inside the tent, so it was constantly sparkling, so it was making holes from, it was burned as well. It was a very old and damaged tent, but all Churkina was talking about are the answers to these concrete questions, because she could have said even with how many knives the tent was cut, but that was not asked. And in the socialism, communism, you don't offer information you are not asked for. I mean, this is what you have to follow the rules. So we don't know what else was on the tent. So why I'm talking so much about the tent? Where was I?
So yeah, we were talking about I did have a question about the tent though. You said that they were not, the investigator or expert wasn't allowed to say or provide information. So there wouldn't have been discussion about like finding blood in the tent. Was that ever mentioned?
No, there was no blood anywhere. Well, there was blood. The only time blood is mentioned, and my site is good for this because you can search, and the search is throughout any interviews, testimonies, case files, documents, anything. So the only time blood is mentioned is from lip, I believe, during the autopsies, and a lot about the color of the blood during the autopsy inside the organs and stuff. But they were not open wounds. Scrapes, yes. Broken lips, yes.
Everything was internal, correct? Everything was internal.
Exactly.
So
this
there
is
wouldn't
why
have
it's
been
high velocity traumas. Yes, that's the weird part, because if there is if avalanche tumbles you, or if there is a fight or something, there would be more scrapes. Because in the autopsy, they're mentioned there are superficial wounds. This is a big leap between superficial wounds like on the knuckles, and if you try to break off in the dark branches and try to survive, and you crawl your way up on the stone runs and stuff like that, you will have a lot of superficial bruises, but it's either only on the skin and superficial, and then straight to being a bone soup. It's a big distance between the damage that was on the bodies that died from hypothermia and the ones that were found completely broken, which, by the way, didn't have any superficial wounds, just they were soup inside. This is a completely different, you can make one source, one enemy, let's put it, one attacker, I don't know what to call it. They all died in a very different manner. And you
So
can't even,
would the position that they were, let's say, the position that they were sleeping in the tent that would explain why 3 of them had injuries and the others didn't have those injuries. I would assume that a tree falling on a tent, the way that
when
those
a
people.
tree, I had recently to look into the documents because someone asked in the forum about the allocation sleeping order inside the tent, and they were asking me why were the girls not next to each other, and I, without looking any further, I said no, this is not how they did things during the socialism. They didn't make any favors to the sexes, girls were not together and so on. And I was wrong, because on the second day in the diary, Luda writes that they're taking the furthest compartment of the tent, and she's explaining how they go with Zina to sleep in the further end of the tent. But then everything in the case files, testimonies of how the tent was found, speaks of a different arrangement, because the diary and I believe the field bag of Dyatlov was found in the further end where the girls were supposed to be sleeping, and the diary of Zina in the same area. And then usually also they were sleeping, the hikers on duty, because there were always 2, were sleeping usually together. This is by the general practice in the mountaineering, because when they woke up, they had to wake up each other to start the day earlier than the rest of the group, so they were sleeping usually next to each other. But in that same diary entry that Luda said that they were going into the tent with Zina to take their places in the further end, she says that no one wants to sleep under the stove because it's too hot. So
Yeah.
they put their Krivonishenko, who stay there for 5-10 minutes and then start cursing and accuse them of treason and stuff. So they were moving. I mean, they were moving the tent every night on a new spot. So for the arrangement to be different in different nights, I believe it's only normal. And back to your question, if the order in the tent could explain the injuries, you imagine the topography of a tree. It has branches. It has a lot. Also, we don't know if it fell along the axis of the tent. We don't know if the tent was actually tied to that tree. And back to my revelation when I went this year, actually months ago on the pass, I really wanted to go there and get to know the people after Kuntsevich's death, and just to be with Russians. I wanted to go with the Russians and survive the Dyatlov Pass, because the travel notes of people that went there during summer, a lot of them decided to go back the second day, the third day. They just wanted to miss to go back so badly they couldn't stand it. And I couldn't figure out why. Why is it so hard to go in summer? I know it could be, but and then I had the time of my life. That is the best expedition ever for me. I mean, I went there with theoretical kind of a scenario that a tree killed them, and I was so happy that this time I had a theory, so I could be taken seriously because I had my own theory. Everyone from the group had its own theory, and you go there to measure something. So you don't go to get inspired. We went to measure things. So you go with metal detectors, with thermal visors, you go with a plan to measure the profile of the Swiss, so the avalanche and stuff. By the way, this is 3 kilometers on the other side of the mountain. So, I mean, if you see avalanche in the mountain, that doesn't mean that that avalanche caused anything. I mean, you can make this long shot.
Huge distance. Yeah. To
No, it's
think
not
that
just the distance, it's a completely different terrain.
terrain. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, we went to measure that too. And so I went there to go back to, and you decide which group you join, because we're a lot. There's a lot of us. And the rule is you don't go with less than 3 people to make a lot of noise. And also, we had the best weather possible. But a lot of times, and there are a lot of travel notes when the weather worsens very fast. So you have to be prepared to be stranded somewhere. And I was taken seriously because I have a theory, and no one thought of that theory, and they allow it. Okay, so there is one strange woman here with a theory of a tree. And the first time when we went to the cedar, because obviously the ones that we went for the first time, because my winter expedition doesn't count, I didn't see anything. I saw how you shoot a movie about the Dyatlov Pass, but actually I didn't have time to go to the cedar and see everything, or to look around for anything. And I didn't have the theory back then. So when I was led to the cedar tree for the first time, and there is Shura pointing to us, okay, here was the fire, because you can see them. In winter, you can't see nothing. It's all covered with snow. But in the summer, he points, okay, here was the fire, the bodies were found here, and on the photos from 59, because there is no metadata on the photos, so there is no GPS coordinates. And we can guess where the bodies were found only by surrounding trees. So the best, actually experts in the group are the ones, the dendrologists and people that know trees. So he was pointing, okay, here is the multi-trunk whatever birch tree, and here is so they have names for all the characteristic trees. They have names. Here is the cedar, here is the young cedar, here is this and that, and all the trees around that you can see in the photos from 59 had such nicknames. They're dubbed somehow. And then I just said, well, I looked at something and said, well, there is a big fallen tree, but there are fallen trees everywhere. And then Shura Senkosi, he just looked at me and said, well, if you want a tree, I can show you a big tree. So we go just like 2 meters away, where everyone is seated on a huge tree covered with moss. And this is the tree where everyone sits because it's very comfortable to sit on. And I looked at it and I said, this is a big tree. They said, yeah, it is. I said, but it's very close to the bodies. This is where the tent was. This is the only even place that you can tie a tent. And they're all looking at me like, this is like, no way, no way. We're coming here for the 15th year in a row. No way she comes from, we don't know where, and she finds the tree that killed them. So then, but they're still respectful and say, okay, so this is the tree. Very good, very good. And I said, well, you have all these metal detectors that I don't know what you're looking for in the Labas. They wanted to find tin cans in the Labas, which is on the other side of the ridge. This is the last documented campsite of the Dyatlov group. And they had 2 metal detectors because one of the video bloggers, he's very, thorough, and he went with the guy who said, I discovered where the last campsite was. So he brought his own metal detector too. And then I joined the group which went to spend the night under the cedar tree, because our camp is on the other side of the mountain. No one pollutes around the cedar. And I said, well, I'll come with you. And they were going to spend the night there to try to, with the thermal visor, to shoot creatures that are, in the dark and something like that. Because everyone said that the nights that they have spent around the cedar tree have always been very, very, with some unease, some feeling of horror, it's danger and uneasy feeling. But this time, there was no such thing. So we went there, we spent, and I said, well, could you bring all of the equipment to the cedar tree that we found. And this is when something happened that everyone was trying to find for 50 years. Okay, not 50 years, because this case started attracting attention, like the renaissance of the Dyatlov Pass happened 25 years after the tragedy. But everyone was trying to find artifacts from the 59. And with the metal detectors, the most modern one, we found something metal, and we started digging, and there were roots, like everything was grown over that metal thing that we were looking for. And we dug 28 centimeters down, and we found a tin can from the 58 of condensed milk. And it was the type that the hikers were carrying, because the searchers also had condensed milk, but they were military size, big. And the ones that the hikers had access to were smaller. It was exactly what I found. And it was very strange that we could even read what was written. We know when it was manufactured and what it was because of embossed characters on the lid. We didn't find the lid. We actually find the bottom, but it doesn't matter. When you open a tin can, you don't look which is the top and the bottom. And you can even see, so we have only one side of the tin can. You can see actually how the knife went in, because there were two holes how you drink condensed milk. And this is where the Dyatlov group is not supposed to have food supplies. So the only way they could bring this can there is if they were camping there. And this is how everyone in the group was in awe. They said, okay, this is the beginner's luck. This is just impossible. So now they call that tree the Teodora cedar. So I have a tree named
You
after
have
me.
the trees named after you. Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing that it was something that you weren't necessarily, I mean, you were looking for, but it just.
But I didn't know that it's gonna be there. And okay, so that's nothing yet. Okay, so we found a tree that it's the oldest tree that's fallen there, and it's huge. And not me, but they took a core from the fallen tree and also from the trees around, and I have given to a dendrologist. And also it's very interesting how you can find how long a tree has been dead, because we all know, the common knowledge is that you count the rings on the tree. But it's very interesting what you learn about dead trees. First, I didn't even dare to dig into how long does a tree stay on the ground. Like, wouldn't it rotten for so long staying there? So it all depends on the I guess I found out that my tree hasn't melted into the ground yet. And even you could put the metal detector under the trunk, so the trunk is not completely encapsulated with ground. It's still round. You can still see the branches where they have broken. And another strange thing is that on the and the tree is uprooted, so it's not cut. So it's not like foul play, or it's not cut later on, it's just fell on its own. But there is a missing piece of the tree towards the top. And it looks, the edges of this missing portion, because they said, well, maybe animals made the trail there, trample over the tree trunk, so that's why it, I don't know, disappeared. But it's not like that. It's the trail is on a completely different place if an animal decides to go there. It's just nothing where this is missing. And also the edges are parallel, so it's like cut. And this is also open for speculations. But when I went back, since no one until now, and I'm the only one investigating the tree theory, because everyone is helping me, that's for sure. But no one could, if you have a theory, you actually follow your theory and you are interested only in facts that support or deny. I'm not saying everyone is fabricating something, but if you believe in something, then it's like your territory to explore. So everyone was helping me, even brought me pine cones and cores, and even they sent me a core, the only core taken from this cedar tree, because this is a very important tree. This cedar tree, I have a core from it, so I can compare it. And you can tell how long a tree has been dead the following way. You have a core from the dead tree and you have a core from a live tree, preferably the same type, very nearby, so they have suffered exactly the same seasons when forming the rings. And obviously the dead tree stopped growing at some point, but if you can read any instance of rings and compare them with the same kind of a pattern of the core of a living tree, then you can count how many years the living tree has lived after the dead one stopped, fell on the ground. It's very interesting. I'm still hoping, we're still hoping, because Heidi knows she's also waiting for some results. The fallen tree, when you started going with the tool to take the core, and I have posted video of this, it goes hard at the beginning, which means that the core at the end towards the bark of the tree, it's still viable. I mean, you can it's still hard, so you can count some, you can see something there, but after that the tool suddenly goes straight in. So it depends if the rotten part of the core, if it's mushy, like it's rotten mushy, or it's just dark. And if it's dry and dark, you can still microscopically count and see something. So before this interview, I called the dendrologist, and he said, well, it's really hard. So I don't want to disappoint you. That's why I'm giving it my best and my time. So I'm going to try harder. But those experts are really busy, because he was, when I came back from the expedition, he was away for many, many months. And now he's a professor into the University of Forestry, whatever, in Bulgaria, like the top specialist. And I am grateful that he is even giving it the time, because everyone has heard of the Dyatlov case, Dyatlov Pass, but then only by TV, or what published in magazines. But he knew about the case because he's a rescuer, mountain rescuer. So his specialty and area of interest are the avalanches. In Dyatlov case, we have photos that avalanche did not break, because the tent is standing up, okay, and the footprints go down, and no one will walk calmly, orderly on the path of an avalanche. I went to visit a body of a woman that was trapped by a tree in a tent in Kyustendil in Bulgaria, and the man that was in the same tent with her, there were two people in the tent, he's unscathed and damaged, nothing on him. He screamed his head off the whole time. The tree hit, he started screaming like crazy until they cut the tree, they cut the tent, they got him out and sent him to the hospital so he can finally stop screaming. This is what happens when a tree falls on top of you and someone dies next to you, because that woman was trapped under the tree. I was hoping, I asked for permission to talk to the coroner who autopsied her. I was hoping for some traumas on her, similar to the Dyatlov case. And what I saw from the police photos, this woman didn't have a single bone broken, nothing, because she bended her knee. I mean, this is how she was trapped, with her knee bent. So actually the knee and the bent leg took that, how to say, it had some...
Did it take like the impact?
It's like a buffer. It's like a buffer. So
Yeah.
So the leg bended fully and pressed on her chest, so she couldn't breathe anymore. That was it. I mean, she, of course, the leg was scraped of meat, muscle, everything, so the bone was exposed and everything, but the bones didn't break, and still she died. What I'm getting at is that when you ask me, well, can we tell by the injuries how they were laying in the tent? I don't think so, because traumas from trees are so different and so diverse and depend on so many dynamics. I became friends with more morticians, coroners, and pathologists. And every time when there is something weird related to death by tree, they call me. And for example, I didn't know that there were poachers of trees. They were cutting trees in the forest. And what happened is that they cut a tree, they cut it here. And I didn't know that when you expect that the tree is going to fall like that, right? But some trees actually kick back. They just slightly go back when they fall down. So that guy was hit in the chest because he didn't expect that. He was staying on the side where he thought it's safe. He's a poacher, he doesn't know better. So he was kicked by the tree, he died, and his accomplice tried to move him, and he was laying exactly when they found him. The investigators, they saw that someone has moved him, but obviously he was dead. So the other one was scared and he just fled, and I don't know if they found him, but obviously, I mean, the cause of death was accident by cut tree. So it's just different. Trees are very powerful because they have a high velocity when they fall. And also, I have talked to people that have friends or relatives that died or injured by fallen tree. One of them said, it's actually a journalist that made the article for Dyatlov Pass for New Yorker, and he consulted with me for 3 months. And then his editor cut everything about my theory, so I was furious. But anyway, so he said that he completely agrees with my theory, like my theory is agreeable, like possible. He has a friend who was a tree fell on top of him, and he was absolutely the same injuries like Zolotaryov, and no, not the same, because he would have died, but he's paralyzed. I don't remember. The thing is that you don't know how you will end up. One thing is that usually people staying very close together, one dies, the other one has nothing, wakes up, just stands up and walks away. It's very rarely that you're slightly damaged by a tree. It's just a very different injuries by one blow. And the coroner who was present at the Zolotaryov's exhumation and made the skull superimposition, he looked at the bones, and his conclusion was that this is Zolotaryov, right? He said that it was a horrific blow. So every coroner who has seen the bones and the bodies says that it was a very horrific, big blow. And again, they compared it in the case files as being hit by a car. And when I asked the coroner who was examining the woman that died from the tree in Bulgaria, I asked him, well, would you say, so how are you can say that she was hit by the tree and this is the cause of death. So I showed him everything I had about Dyatlov group, and I said, can you tell if they were hit by a tree? And he said, you can ask me something like that. First, I said that she was hit by a tree because she was found under the tree, and there were all the witnesses from the moment the man started screaming to the moment when she was pulled from under the tree. So I could say that this most probably is what killed her. But every coroner would say, well, I cannot exclude a tree, or a tree, trauma by a tree is compatible with the findings, with these injuries, but you can't tell if this is what what killed them. You can just say they're compatible. So that's all that we could get from coroners examining the autopsy. But all the rest of the injuries, some of them on the other bodies, they're very different, diverse, but they could all be explained with being hit by branches and trying to pull your weight from under the tent, and also the cuts on the tent. I mean, this is perfectly explaining how you get out of the tent. Even if you're not trapped in the tent, you would try to cut the way out because you're trying to help your friends. They're trapped, they're in the tent, under the tree. So you're trying to cut some openings for them to breathe, for something to try to pull them out. You can't pull them from the entrance, you try to pull them from under the tree. But I have talked to investigators, you cannot pull a body from under a tree, you have to cut it. You cannot, you just can't.
Yeah, we had a tree taken down in our yard not that long ago, and I told the people that cut it down, I was like, "Oh, leave this one chunk for me. I'm going to use it in the yard for like sitting around the fire or whatever." Right. I can't even move it. I can't even get it to where I need to get it. I had no idea that they were as heavy as they are, even for like a small piece. So, yeah.
And what I'm hoping now, where my investigation would go, is that I have too many indirect confirmations of this theory. It's like I keep finding things that are
pointing in a direction.
Pointing in this direction. And after, the Russians are just great because they have knowledge of so many treks, expeditions to the area, because they keep going every summer and every winter, every year. They go and they look for different things, and they start bringing to me things that actually confirm they agree with my theory. In 2008, there was a big metal pipe, found 200 meters from the bodies. So, no, actually 150 meters from the bodies, 200 meters from the cedar tree, where were also bodies. And that pipe, at the time, when people saw pictures of it, they said that it could be a chimney of a similar stove that Dyatlov was using, but for the searchers, the tents were bigger, military, and the stove was actually on the ground, and the chimney was kind of a little bit longer than the one Dyatlov was using. And still, it's a chimney that you put, it's not telescopic, but it's made of different parts that stuck together with some rings. And it's much thinner than the pipe that they found. And I have photos. I talked also to someone that have seen and touched the pipe. It's a very massive pipe, and he said that this is could be a geologist core pipe. And part of my theory, mine and Igor's theory, is that that killed them, and then they went for help. They were trying to go for help, so that's why they were so unprepared. They were crawling, not that naked on the slope. Actually, the ones that were going up were relatively kind of clothed better than the rest, and yet you cannot survive in these temperatures and winds for so long in the middle of the night without anything. So they just stop moving from exhaustion. But we believe that they were, back then, there were not so many trees, so they were visible. Even if you don't see the tent under the tree, the people that were crawling up, they could be seen from the sky. And when you find the body or something suspicious, you start looking who is there, who could be there around them at the time of the tragedy. And it's not so remote as people imagine. Even I thought it's just, well, there is no one there. But it's huge territory, but still the Russians at the time had a lot of enterprises there. Ural is famous for the mining. It's gold, it's diamonds, there are ores, gas, I don't know what else, but there was a lot of mining. And we have a whole village built for the geologists. And this is exactly the area where they were prospecting. And the way that they did that, because it's so remote, they didn't go by ground, they were always flying. And for any reason imaginable, the only way of transportation to this remote wilderness is by air. So we believe, Igor believed, because I could go as far as the tree. Anything else is something that Igor told me. And he said, I mean, he showed me maps of flight paths while they were looking for uranium. At the time, that was the most precious mining resource that you could find. And the way they did that, they were looking for magnetic anomalies. And I mentioned all the GPS problems and the nothing works there. And it's known, common knowledge, that the compass doesn't work there. And there is a lot of magnetic anomalies. And what they were doing back then is actually dropping explosives or in making craters. And then they send a ground group to take course. So they were doing this by area. They knew where they're blowing up, and the safety measures were just, we don't do it on top of our people, but no one knows where the trek route of a hiking group goes. And we don't believe, there is no signs of any explosives around, but we have signs of not mining, but geologists work in the area. Before making the shafts, the mining shafts, before that, they actually have to find some resources to start digging. And this is where they sent the ground workers to start taking samples. And there are a lot of villages, they were storing core samples. And this pipe that was found in 2008, it's exactly this type of tool that they were, it's actually not a tool, it's equipment that they were using. And the weird thing is that it didn't make any impression on them. They made a photo, but even in the notes of the expedition, it's not mentioned as anything of interest. I just spoke to the person who saw it, and it's still there. And also they start sending me maps of clearings in the area, which cannot be explained with the searchers, but someone was cutting trees down for something, not for logging, because when you cut trees for logging, it's like huge areas, and then you make a path where to transport the logs. So there has to be a road or close to the river or something like that. But there are clearings around the tragedy that can be searched for metal. There's going to be a lot of artifacts there. So now I'm sure that if I go back, I'm going to find something that it's going to bring, again, not a concrete evidence that will point to someone, dying there or confirming the whole theory, because I'm pretty sure that I trump all of the cause of deaths who anyone could point to this accident. But because no one actually explains how they died. They all start from the tent, what scared them, what made them go down. But I have to explain, why would someone get this impression that he's going to be blamed for this tragedy and take the risk of moving the bodies? And what I can understand is the psychology of the party and the regime, and they were the 21st Congress of Khrushchev, and the telegram that made all this public, and also this strange massive search operation, which was unprecedented. No one was searching for tourists with so many aircrafts and military, and even the guards from the Gulag went to search for dead bodies. And while they did that, prisoners escaped. So they didn't have enough manpower to do their jobs, and they were risking actually going to jail just to insert themselves in the investigation. And I'm talking not individuals. They were told by their bosses to go there and just take part of the investigation. Also, the geologists took over all of the telegrams. So once everything that was said between the searchers and anyone else, like the party, the UP Ural Polytechnic Institute, the sports club that the Dyatlov group were members of, everything went through the geologists.
That's interesting.
They're missing telegrams, and also very strange phrases in the telegrams. And it's not a secret. Everyone knows this, but it's just like the pipe and like the tree. No one sees any context in which this is interesting, because this is what is characteristic for this case. So much information that any theory that you can think of, you can find some pieces and just say, oh, well, could be this, because they were blind and there were firewood around, but they couldn't see them, and they died from cold because they didn't see the wood that they could put in the fire. And actually, this is what the father of one of the dead hikers says. I mean, that's not far-fetched. Everything that you can see as a strange thing, you can build a theory on top of it. But metal pipe, who brought that pipe there? It's very heavy. I have pictures of how they were with helicopters. They were bringing all of the equipment there and everything. I mean, why would there be a pipe if there's no one working there? What will definitely prove a theory is someone's confession. But there is another strange thing, is that the people we believe should have known something, like they should have been into this whole conspiracy. They never, ever said anything about this case. Everyone is dying to get the attention and be in the spotlight because they have been present, they know someone, they have been there, something. That's all over Russia. Everyone that remotely is related to this case is now trying to get the attention. And these people, the only thing they said to their relatives is, if you want to live, you have to keep your mouth shut. Telegrams, I mentioned there, if you have this conspiracy in mind, you will see a lot of strange things that could be explained with people being involved. For example, there is a phrase in the telegrams which is addressed to a boss of the geologist, saying, this is a scandal. The pilots of the helicopters don't want to take the bodies because they're afraid that they have to be in lead coffins. They're afraid what they died from. So the safety measures are, the bodies have to be in special boxes to be brought on board. And he said, this is outrageous because the bodies are frozen the same way you saw them. This is given, I mean, they are present, but no, what we want to prove is that their boss knew about the bodies.
Right.
Because so according, let's say, to go back, according to our theory, is that they died, they tried to get help, then on the next day, or not later than 2-3 days after that, someone from the helicopters saw the bodies. And now we can explain all of the strange recollections of pilots saying that they saw the bodies and tent at a different place at a different time. Everyone says that they're making this up, or just not. Another pilot who was friends actually with Dyatlov, who died in an accident. So there are all of the theories that he was killed. His widow made a big appearance saying that she was told by her husband not to say anything, that this is. So she starts talking about the Dyatlov case in poetry, because she is forbidden to speak about it by her husband. A fear for the lives of the kids. There were attempts on her life too. So strange things. Pilots knew something. Also, they're not just Dyatlov group that are there I mean, in the Northern Urals at that time. There are other hiking groups, and one hiking group just started from the place where the first testimony in the case files of the Dyatlov group is. And this is the weird document that is dated 2 weeks prior to the Dyatlov group even disappearing, reported as missing. So why did they start questioning about the weather in a settlement where Dyatlov group never went and didn't plan to go? Why is there a document in the case files from a completely different place? Like, why did the case started before they were missing? Because there was another group in the area, and they started from that. One of the members of the group of that other expedition was born in that place where the first case files from the Dyatlov cases. And so what I'm saying is that there was no clarity which group was that. So they saw people dead. What they do, they're not in any fault, so they transport them to the morgue. Now we explain this recollection of the nurse of the Ivdel morgue, who says that she washed bodies at the beginning of February, when little after they died, but before they were missing, before anyone knew that they were missing and start searching for them. So we have pilots seeing bodies before Dyatlov group was even missing. We have nurse that was washing bodies. We have Shumkov group who went to Chistop, which is like 30 kilometers from Dyatlov group. So Shumkov group is coming from Chistop. They're going to District 41 for the first time. They have never been there. They don't know these people. And they're greeted, and there is a document in their diaries. They're greeted with the words, "We thought you're dead." Why? So there is a rumor that someone died there, and this is happening on the 14th of February. Dyatlov group is not missing yet.
Too many people that were already talking about it way before
because
they were.
Word travels. Yes,
Yeah.
so word travels. So according to our theory, the bodies were taken to the morgue, and the tent is folded. Everything is whatever they can load in the helicopters, they take to Ivdel to wait for identification and to case to be open, because someone sooner or later is gonna alarm that there's people missing. So then they're gonna identify who they are. They initially thought that it's Shumkov's group because they knew about them, but they show up all alive, and then they knew that these are someone else. And they didn't expect such a huge search operation to be sent from Moscow, Sverdlovsk, and everywhere. And they haven't fetched all of the bodies. They don't know how many people are in this group. So then this is not the ordinary people who can decide that, because they're not at blame. No one can blame them for anything. So then the bosses of the geological expedition that is working there, and the Gulag, because they're friends, they're all in the Ivdel level. So the party, the Gulag, the Shestopalov is a colonel who is a colonel, actually, colonel, who is building the railroad there. I mean, it's one of them. And why would he go with sappers to look for dead hikers? He's one of who inserted himself with a group of 7, and then they actually searched exactly on top of the 4 dead in the stream and found nothing. So I mean, it's suspicious. Why would he go there when he has to build a railroad, a big, huge project, very important for the party? He has to show results. Why are they spending time and actually so idling? Because they're out of their purpose there, that there was a telegram sent, please tell the sappers to either start poking with avalanche props or go away, because they're just eating our food and not doing anything. So the people that were sent there, they don't know anything, but their bosses send them there without having an order to send manpower. And there's so many of them that had no any reason to be in the area. And then we start following into the documents. They usually, at some point, everyone makes a list of how many people are they eating and sleeping at the pass while searching for the bodies. And the numbers don't make sense. They're like 5 people that no one knows who they are. So it looks like they're strange people no one knows that are just present into the search without doing anything. And then the number of skis, backpacks, axes, items differ. Like there were one number when they were counted on the pass, and then when they were protocoled after transporting into the IVDO hangar in the airport, they're a different number. Then everything was for matching 8 people, and then suddenly in the area was found a set for a 9th hiker, like backpack and clothes and everything was in the area after the tent was removed already. No wonder Lev Ivanov couldn't make any sense. I believe he was made to look like a fool because there was someone there moving stuff and items. So they died. The searchers found the food that was left in the tent. Then they found the labas, what's left in there. And it's a like discrepancy of 50 kilos of supplies is missing, like it's not matching. Like, where is that? There are pieces of the tent missing, like, where is that? There are items found in the tent and in the area where the bodies were found that no one recognizes to belong to the group. And then there are items that should be found and no one knows where they are. They're missing, like knives, like things are missing from the case files. No one found them. So where are they? Who took the knife that cut the branches? So there are a lot of things that point to someone being present at the location before the official discovery of the tent and the bodies. So many discrepancies show presence of third party, of strangers there. But the Russians know that, but they all put them in the context of being murderers or killers, or these are the people that kill them. I'm not saying that moving bodies is not a crime or is less of a crime, because this is they're hampering the investigation. This is like this is also a crime. I'm sure that it has its code for this, but it's what is hard to explain is that why would they do that if they didn't kill them? Because all these people had families, they had jobs, they had positions. And the only way the party is going to solve this case of the dead people at the height of the 21st Congress is just fire some people. This is what they did, actually. They fired people from the sports club where the Dyatlov group was, who sent them, actually. They had to be sent by a sports club.
There were obviously people that were there that shouldn't be there. There's discrepancies with the items that were found, items that were missing. Where does that take us?
So these people that are working there, and I'm going to prove, this is the direction of my investigation, I'm going to prove that actually the geologists were very close to the place of tragedy. Right now, what I have in this regard, I have recollections of searchers who were hearing explosions and actually sent a telegram to Moscow asking for the testing or whatever they were doing, blowing things up, to stop. Otherwise, they wouldn't cross the ridge to go look for the bodies for fear for their lives. So we have explosions. Then Tempelov, the first prosecutor who went on the pass, he said that there are craters. So everyone puts this in the context of a rocket explosions and some tests that were conducted, took place there. Kuryakov in 2019, if he didn't find anything on the pass on his expedition, it was just a public PR. But what he did is dig into archives which no one else could have access to because there is a statute of limitations. He definitely showed that there were no rockets launched in that direction, but there was a rocket launched in a different direction, which did fall unplanned prematurely, but it wasn't in the direction of the Dyatlov Pass. So these people that were actually working in the area, the party, when something like that happens and they have to give some account to the relatives and to the public, everything had to be good. So it's a human error, but it had to be the boss. It had to be whoever is in charge of something there. And that's why I believe that Sverdlovsk is too far away. They punish people there because they couldn't find anyone around the tragedy to blame. Just they didn't find anyone, but it's like they weren't even looking because the area was swarmed with people. They didn't even have a count of who was there. The crime scene, just what crime scene? Nothing was protected, nothing was cut off, nothing was documented. Even the first photo of the tent is made 2 days after the tent was found. The first action of the people who found the tent was to make some additional cuts, which later they said, well, I did that because I had to look if there were people inside that needed my immediate attention. We believe that the official theory is that even Lev Ivanov in his article said, imagine these poor kids who were climbing the cedar tree and there was skin from their thighs on the bark of the tree. This is horrible. This is the investigator who is talking urban legends 30 years after the fact, because there is no mention of any skin, leave alone DNA, leave alone, he didn't even look at the bodies, leave alone gather samples, forensic samples. Lev Ivanov went on the pass without being in the mountain before. He didn't have the proper shoes, the proper coat. He was suffering out of his element the whole time. They call him a city investigator. He was good for the job, but he was used to a city environment. In the mountain, he didn't know what to do exactly. So the whole time he was at the beginning, he was conversing with the students. So what about their friends, how they did, what they did, things to get into the picture, right? Then he totally lost interest into the case by the end, when the most the incriminating findings were actually in all the pictures. We see military pulling the bodies and everything, and the only pictures of the last 4 bodies with all these horrific injuries were made by a student who happened to be around, not by the investigator, not by the investigation, nothing like that. And there are strange recollections outside the case files. Like one of the students present there said that one of the bodies, Zolotaryov, was holding a notebook and a pencil. No one knows where this notebook and pencils are, and we're debating with anyone with medical background if this is possible. Is like the cadaveric spasm, can you die and still hold things? And but he's alive, the person who keeps repeating about that, and he's very certain of his recollection. He's with his mind. I mean, he's not demented or anything, and he's a rational person. He's not putting this in any context. He's just saying that Back then, no one was following any rules. Actually, the military who found the body, he who looked at the notebook, he cursed and said he didn't write anything. He just put somewhere the notebook and everything. So what I'm saying is that there is no strict investigation. Every time when you encounter a fact, the way I'm so frustrated when people start their questions with, I read someplace. Where? Every time you read something, to me, it's very interesting because it's a huge data, huge pit with all kind of information inside, reliable, not reliable, who said that? So every time when you want to cite a fact or prove something with a fact, you have to be ready to explain where you find it. No, I read it. Don't point to me at social media and magazines and stuff like that, because they don't even know where they got it from. A lot of things don't make sense, but it's, to me right now, after 10 years of investigation, I don't remember everything that I have translated or published. So I have to, my goal is not to retain all this information, because I'm not this type of mind. I don't have this
It
memory.
would be impossible. I don't know how you are able to.
Igor was like that. No, Igor could tell me everything, but he never ventured any opinion. He always pointed the source. Igor liked the fact to put, and if you build that for yourself, because he was doing that offline in his archives, but if you're doing that, because why do we investigate all this? There is no glory, there is no award, there is no recognition. I have only hate and friends. So it's always strong emotions. But my goal is to put everything accessible in one place. So I welcome all of the information that I can receive. I just verify it or put it in some place for people to find it. That's what I do. So the right way to answer a question like what happened, who said, and this, is to point to the source. All we know is this. It's obvious that I'm obsessed. It has become almost like, I don't know, it's brain sharpening for remembering or finding something. It's, I don't want to, I want to stay away from the word game, because it's nothing entertaining in this. You're always dealing with horrible death and suffering. So everything, everyone that touches to that, you become deeply emotionally involved. Like even in my darkest moments, I think of, well, I have to live for them. They couldn't. So why I'm complaining about? I mean, they couldn't even have their life. And on top of that, they died a horrible death. And now we're using them like rag dolls, like putting them in situations and in theories and this and that. And I know it's horrible, but at least I'm not doing it with made up characters. I'm doing it, and there is something good coming out of this, because I'm not only defending my theory, I'm publishing every theory. I want to see how people render information, how they work with it, what they make of it. Like the person who helped me with the tree course, if you go on my site right now, I just published yesterday his theory, because he was so helpful, and I really didn't care about loose on the moose, you know, stampede, run over the tent. But I published his theory because I'm publishing every theory who made the time, put the efforts, tried something, because if nothing else, even if I don't like it, it doesn't matter. You learn a lot about reindeer, about herding, about Urals, about Damansi. Everything is interesting.